Welcome everyone, welcome to my railroad empire. It may not be as nice as Jim Hill's, but it is all mine. Some of us have had the ability to build a nice railroad empire. Well, friends of mine, Brent and Julie Stuvland, are building their second railroad empire. And that's what we're going to get into today. So, I received an email from Brent. And Brent says in his email, "We recently retired to Florida from Washington State. When we lived in Washington, we built a G-scale railroad. Our layout was a loop-to-loop with 1,500 feet of single mainline track. Now that we live in Florida, we are having to learn how to build an outdoor G-scale railroad all over again. The weather patterns are completely different than Washington's weather. A beautiful sunny day can change in an instant. The wind comes up very fast, followed by a heavy downpour of rain, which lasts for about 15 minutes. Then the sun breaks out again. The climate is very humid. The locals tell me that any wood which is exposed outdoors is destroyed in just a few years." We're going to do a number of videos on Brent and Julie's new empire as they build it. I'd like to show you a little bit of what they used to have. So let's go through some of this. In 1989, as most railroads do, this one started out under a Christmas tree. In the early years, Brent and Julie's boys were very small, and he called them lungers. He was worried about them breaking the trains. So in 1990, he built an overhead railway in the rec room. The outdoor layout started in 2000 with a figure 8. Then slowly it expanded to a loop around the koi pond, and then a flat loop under the deck, then a helix under the deck, then an abandoned loop. Here you can see Brent and the boys digging post holes for the loop that was eventually abandoned. The ever-expanding railroad moved across a long trestle to new towns and new logging camps. As with most real railroads and model railroads, towns will pop up. This is the town of Winthrop, and next you'll see the town of Everett, with a carnival going on. Brent's not the only one that designs the towns. Here you'll see the town of Birdville, which Julie designed. Birdville is an Old West town primarily made up of birdhouses. With the coming of towns, more trackage, and more rolling stock came the need for a train shed. And no, not the little one, it's the bigger one. Inside the train shed came the need for a turntable, more shelves, and storage. Oh yes, we do have earthquakes here in Washington State, and yes, those are earthquake boards in front of the trains. And as with all railroads, real and model, you have to have the executive's desk. Brent's latest addition to his railroad here in Washington State was a logging camp, very typical for this area. With Brent's design, he could access an engine or cars at any point inside the tunnel. Very ingenious. I found Brent to be very handy with tools, and he came up with some wonderful ideas and designs. As you can see, his logging camp came out just beautifully. Brent has always been meticulous, if not obsessed, about his railroad maintenance. All joking aside, Brent has built some beautiful structures of his own designs. If you look at the Helix, it actually is built to resemble a snow shed. I love the way the trains almost cross over themselves on the way up the Helix. And so Brent, Julie, and the boys' railroad that started out at only 70 feet ended up with over 1,500 feet of track. He built a loop-to-loop with a single-track main line. There was a limited number of sidings and a few passing tracks. It was never finished. I know that there was supposed to be at least a mining extension that never got completed. Brent's trains are all battery-powered with remote controls. In fact, Brent has even made his own remote control unit. He has even detailed a lot of his own rolling stock and kit-bashed and detailed a lot of his own buildings. So Brent and Julie hosted not only the 2010 convention for one of the open house railroads, but they also would host open houses for their friends and fellow workers. You might recognize the gentleman standing with me at the 2010 convention here at Brent's. That's Nick Davis. Nick and I would run trains so that Brent and Julie could be proper hosts for their open houses. Okay, so which one of these two is Bigfoot? I do love Julie's lighter side, and I hope Bigfoot gets put out at her new garden. And so in 2018, they retired. They removed the entire layout. It was all packed up, and they moved to Florida. In the next video, I'd like to talk a little bit about packing up and shipping your trains. Well, thank you for viewing this first video of Brent and Julie Stuvland's Railroad. And if you like the video, please give us a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. And we look forward to seeing you down the rails. Thanks.